For more on this topic, we now talk to Paul Lasley, travel radio host and journalist at ontravel.com, joining us live from Los Angeles. Welcome to the show, Paul. And as you probably heard from Jessica's story, there's a couple different dynamics in terms of these cutbacks. I guess the big question a lot of us are asking is, are these going to be long-term impacts, or are they going to be more of a short-term issue?
Well, as a frequent flyer, I hope they're a very short-term impact, Philip. One thing that I have noticed is there's a huge amount of hypocrisy floating around here among all the players on both sides. And I think this is something that's going to come to a head because the summer travel season is coming along. And so far, as your report pointed out, there's not a huge impact from this, but with summer coming and the huge number of people that start flying, this may have a much bigger impact than anyone has anticipated.
You talk about the impacts, and I recently traveled to California and back, and I can tell you, walking through some of those lines, there's a lot of times where you look around and you say, there's a lot of people that are sitting around looking at their cell phones, and I wonder, is it a personnel issue or is it an efficiency issue where the resources are being used correctly in the various departments?
Well, of course, I'm not an expert in staffing, but my sense is that it's a little bit of both because, the actual figure that they're saving through these furloughs is only about $160 million out of their total sequester funds. It's somewhere approximately like that. And I have to wonder if this isn't a political ploy on both sides.
I mean, the budget of, just the TSA, for example, is in a number of billions of dollars. Like a couple $100 million is not going to make that big of a difference. And I have to wonder a little bit, is the media making this perhaps bigger than it really is? In your opinion, you talked to a lot of folks in the travel industry. Is this impacting people who may travel this summer and say, look, I don't want to deal with these delays. I don't want to deal with all the hassles at the airport. It's bad enough as it is. I'm canceling my trip.
No, I don't think so. I think most people are pretty well committed to traveling this summer. You may see an uptick in car travel. Of course, that's always the largest segment of the travel industry in summer travel in America. You also will find, I think, that people will start reacting more when something actually happens. Right now, the impact has been negligible. So I think the average person is not yet aware that maybe those lines are going to get a lot longer come June or July.
If you have the ear of the airline executives, and of course they're watching all these different news reports, and they can't be happy about it either because it affects the travel experience, which ultimately affects the airlines and their bookings. What can or what should the airlines industries and the airlines themselves do? Can they do anything?
Well, I'm not sure that they can. They can certainly liaise with the FAA more and be perhaps interactive with them more. But ultimately, it really depends on the flight controllers and the staffing of the airports and the whole system. And, as many people have pointed out, our system here in the United States is somewhat antiquated. It's certainly not the cutting edge. And so the airlines are struggling not only with an antiquated system, but they're back to a point where these planes fly full. The days of an empty seat next to you are almost gone forever.
We all miss those days of having, the whole aisle to yourselves. But I want to ask you a serious question because delays, the money issue, not enough money. Ultimately, what happens is someone's going to pay for this at some point in time, and they're trying to build a new air traffic control system. Airports are upgrading themselves. Who's going to pay for it? Does that mean higher ticket prices or higher taxes at some point?
Oh, I think both. Ticket prices have already started going up. There's been a general fare increase. I think it was only about $5 across the board, but it actually stuck. And so I think you're going to see more higher ticket prices, and I think there will also be higher fees levied not only by the airlines but through taxes and the airports.
All right, higher prices, no empty seats. It's going to be a tough summer. Paul Lasley, thank you very much from ontravel.com, joining us live from Los Angeles.